Hello, today I picked two very common struggles that many people have with their dogs, and I am going to use these as examples and to try to create a full picture as to why connecting and engaging with our dogs will help both these things. The two things I have picked is recall and jumping up. Okay, so recall. I don't believe that working on recall, I've often wondered how do I put this into words? When we work on recall, often we'll just come. And we expect our dogs are understanding us, or some people expect that their dogs are understanding them, but choosing to ignore them, which in some cases might be the case. But there's a whole lot more to it. Another thing is putting them on a long lead and just working on recall. Okay, well, this is good. This is a good thing to do. It's definitely a technique you can utilize. Recall is so much more than that. Recall is connection. If you are using your words with your dog appropriately, and I've talked about that before, how I use a lot of words, how I interact and engage with my dog, and I do talk with her, and we're communicating, versus when we're working on refining our training. When I'm working with Nala and refining our training, I use very few words. If I'm using very few words, then I'm connecting with my dog for that purpose. I'm showing Nala that she needs to be aware of where I am. I'm teaching her to watch me. When I'm playing with Nala, I'm connecting with her. Sometimes I use a few words. Sometimes I don't use any. Depends on what kind of play we're doing. The game of tug, I believe, is completely ingenious. If you're playing tug with your dog and they grab usually a tug toy, you can use other toys as well, but for my example, I will share two different toys and two different slightly different examples here. So tug, and your dog grabs that tug. Okay, praise the heck out of that dog. You praise your dog, then you work on your dog's drop it. If it's not a strong drop it, you work on the drop it. You can exchange for another toy. You can exchange for a treat. Depends on what kind of tug you're using, what size your dog is. You can grab two sides of your tug and gently push into them. Be aware of what size of dog you have if you do that. A great big dog can obviously handle a lot more than a tiny little dog that I would actually not recommend that for. But basically, make sure your dog has a strong drop it. Okay, so that's your next step. Your dog drops the toy, you pick it up, you ask them to sit or down, then you invite them to play again. Usually it looks like sit or hand signal is always best. Grab the tug, and I just say tug, and that's my dog's cue to start tugging. Okay, so working on drop it, getting that drop it really solid. Like I say, exchange with toys or exchange with treats. Okay, and you work on that first. So you're getting your dog in this heightened state. You're playing with your dog. You're engaging and connecting with your dog when you're doing this. Well, what else are you doing? You're also teaching them impulse control. You're teaching them to control their responses, which carries over into a variety of areas. Okay, so your dog has a solid drop it. The dog has a solid sit, a solid down. Wonderful. Okay, get that tug out. And you invite your dog to tug. Tug, tug, tug. You let your dog win. What is that doing? That is building your dog's confidence. You praise your dog for winning. Okay, now what do you need to work on? Bring it. You need to make sure now that your dog has a solid bring it. Again, you can trade with another toy. You can trade with treats. You get that bring it solid. Okay. You have solid drop it. Now you work on your solid bring it. Great. Your dog drops it. Pick it up. Ask them for a down, a sit, a stay. Give them one or two commands. Grab that tug. Ask them to tug again. Tug, tug, tug. Then what happens? Then you win. Okay. You won this time. Wonderful. Okay. Again, you're asking your dog to sit. You're asking your dog to down. You're refining all of your training through play, or a good portion of it. You're teaching your dog impulses. You're connecting with your dog. You're engaging with your dog. You're having a blast with your dog. Training is fun. If you're not having fun with your dog, you're probably not connecting with your dog, or at least not connecting as much as you can. The more you connect, the more you engage appropriately with your dog, the stronger the recall is going to be. Tug is also amazing for dogs like mine, Nala, who's very low threshold. It's a really long process. I think I've probably honestly gotten her threshold as high as I'm ever going to get it. I'm not sure. I'll keep plucking away. We all got to be aware of our dogs and what they can handle. You know, there's things we can improve and work through with them together, and keep refining those things. Keep working on the struggles that they have, the quirks that are struggles for them. But it comes a point where we recognize the dog in front of us. We recognize their limits. Okay. Some dogs is limitless. In other dogs, there's limits. We have to respect some of that. Okay. Ultimately, we're our dog's safe place. We have to teach our dog that. We're your safe place. Okay. Our dogs need to be turning to us, watching us. And there again, they're part of recall. If you're your dog's safe place, your dog wants to be with you. Okay, so if you're not using too many words, you're primarily using your hand signals, you're utilizing the power of silence to nurture your dog's listening to you, visually and verbally. That will all help your recall. Okay, jumping up. So many dogs struggle jumping up. Why do they struggle jumping up? For some dogs, it's anxiety, separation anxiety, or just anxiety. I have a dog that has panic attacks. Doesn't very often anymore, thank goodness. We've gotten through most of that. But I still have a dog that has panic attacks. So when she was really young, I felt pretty silly because I just didn't see it at first. My dog is almost never left alone. I should say that. She's very spoiled that way. It is rare that she has to be by herself. But she's glued to both me and my husband. I am the one that works with her the most. I am the one that takes her on her walks and her runs for the most part. So I think that's probably where it's coming from, where it was coming from. When I would leave the house in the mornings to go to work or to go about my day or whatever I needed to get done that day, and Nala couldn't come with me, she would start jumping up at me and clawing me. And just grabbing onto me, like a doggy version of like a 3-year-old who doesn't want their mother to leave. I do not believe I'm my dog's mother. I'm her person. I'm my dog's person. She is my friend. She is a family member. That's how I view it. That's just my personal view there. But I still say there was a similarity. So on the surface, it looked like Nala was being a brat. It looked like she didn't want to listen. It looked like she was being excitable. And this went on for quite some time until one morning I had an aha moment. So I'm going out the door and she is having one of her moments. She did it every morning for a long time. So I'm leaving and my dog's jumping up at me. She's clawing me. She's grabbing onto me. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You are having a panic attack. And I couldn't believe it. Once I had identified why she was jumping up on me, I'm not saying this is your dog, I'm just giving it as an example. Once I had identified that, it was under control within, I want to say, a week, maybe 2 weeks tops. She's never, well, at least in that situation, never done it again. She's barely done it in any other situation since. And when she has done it on the rare occasion, it's a lot milder than it used to be. So it's like, it's not too terrible. You just kind of remove her from whatever situation is causing it or triggering it. Just get her out of there. She had a mild case of it when I was running a workshop last year. And I just sent her with my husband. Just get her out of here. And they thought she was being excitable. And I was like, no, she's having a panic attack. And then they stood back like, oh my goodness, she is having a panic attack. I was like, yeah, she really is. And it kind of painted a new perspective for them too. Because it's like, sometimes we think we're looking at one thing and then we dive a little deeper. We're like, oh my goodness, that's so not what I first thought it was. So as we dive deeper into why our dogs are behaving certain ways, it's so much easier to get a handle on or help them. Because how can we be working with our dogs on one thing when that's not the thing they're struggling with, right? I think our dog's overly excitable. So we correct them. Well, I don't really agree with that. But we approach it the wrong way, right? Because we think we're seeing something else. So number one, we got to find the root causes of whatever behaviors we need to work on our dogs with. Okay. Often I find dogs jump up when they are craving connection. They just need to connect. Sometimes that's just because you've been gone all day, right? You've had to leave your dog at the house and they're having some anxiety when you come home. Sometimes it's like that. It's like when I leave, right? Or maybe your dog's getting anxious when you leave. It's not always possible for all of us. I know. I used to be in this boat, but if we have 2 people in the household, you can tag team and work together to work through the behaviors. It's so much easier when you have 2 or 3 people that are helping. You can always reach out to me. I can go into greater detail and explain how I would approach various things. But if our dogs are having a bit of anxiety, either when we're leaving or when we're coming home, and we get what's happening, we get what we're seeing and why our dogs are jumping up on us, then we can work with that. We have something to work with. We have a starting point. If we think our dogs are jumping up on us just because they're excitable, honestly, you're probably not going to get that under wraps, because we're addressing the wrong thing. So the roots are so important. That's why I say to people, pile all the information onto me. Tell me everything you possibly can think of. Because the more information I have and the better picture I have of your household and your dynamics, the dogs, the people, the much more successful I'm going to be in helping you, which is going to make you successful in your household with your dog. You know your dog better than I know your dog. You should. You should know your dog better than I know your dog. One place a trainer or someone like me who works with a lot of behavior comes in handy is, it's like that anxiety I was telling you about with Nala jumping up whenever I left. Yeah, I know my dog best. But sometimes things get clouded when it's so close to home, right? Like, it just becomes normal in our life. So when you kind of like have someone that can kind of step back and ask you a bunch of questions and like get a picture of your household, then I will find questions to ask you based on my dog experience, based on all the dogs that I've worked with. Every dog has taught me something different. And I have to say that when I have like my staple things that I work on with the dogs, with my clients, and then like I'm working with a dog and it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't work for this dog. That always teaches me something. I must admit it's kind of frustrating. Because it's like, oh yeah, no problem. And it's like, this dog, it just doesn't work. It's like, oh shoot, darn it. So then you gotta go back to square one, right? Or gotta be like, okay, what motivates this dog? And yeah, sometimes it's a trial and error. And there's so many things that affect that. Like, it's just not black and white. Or at least I don't believe it is. I believe if we made dog training, dog behavior and all that completely black and white, then everyone would be using aversives instead of understanding the dog and what the dog needs. Get to the roots. Get to the roots. Okay. Hopefully you learned something from that today. And I will talk to you again. And if you have any questions or you need some help with your dogs, send me a message through my Facebook page or my website. Website is letsgocanine.ca. Facebook is Let's Go Canine. Thank you. Bye-bye.